That seems to be my word today.
So there's this chorus to this song. You're welcome to sing on it, and you're welcome to just let these words roll over you. They're so deep for what we're living these days. But either way, you're welcome. We're just going to start with the verse. Well, it's an idea whose time has come. A new generation decides as one of the same small planet we are born. It's never been so obvious before. We breathe the same air, drink the same water, walk the same earth, kiss the same sky, breathe the same air. I think we ought to get along better. You and I, we breathe the same air, drink the same water, walk the same earth, kiss the same sky, breathe the same air. I think we ought to get along better. You and I.
Great advice, huh? Yeah.
The future of history is crystal clear. The borders between us will disappear. Of the same small planet we are born, and there's no foreign countries anymore. We breathe the same air, drink the same water, walk the same earth, kiss the same sky, breathe the same air. And I think we ought to get along better. You and I, we breathe the same air, drink the same water, walk the same earth, kiss the same sky, we breathe the same air. And I think we ought to get along better. You and I. Well, some say I'm out of touch with the times, that this world is no place for a vision like mine. Well, still I can see it, and I can believe it. There's too many lives on the line. There's too many lives on the line. Well, it's an idea whose time has come. A new generation decides as one of the same small planet we are born. It's never been so obvious before. We breathe the same air, drink the same water, walk the same earth, kiss the same sky, breathe the same air. And I think we ought to get along better. You and I, we breathe the same air, drink the same water, walk the same earth, kiss the same sky, we breathe the same air. And I think we ought to get along better. You and I, you and I.
Wiley and the Wilettes. There they are.
Interesting.
Yeah, you know what? That'd be really cool because I'm so tall when it's down that low, you know.
Yeah. Asking you, shall we see?
I love it. I'd like a new car too.
Okay.
By the way. Oh, I thought we were asking.
Held in mind.
Held in mind. That's right. Don't be afraid to ask. The universe is always willing to say yes, no matter what it is you're asking. So pay attention. You know, there was a strong man of the circus sideshow, and he demonstrated how strong he was by taking lemons in his hand and squeezing all of the juice out of them in one tight squeeze. I'm doing that this week with my left hand because my little right wing is still, it's still healing. So he would squeeze these lemons with one strong squeeze, and that would be it. So there was an elderly woman that was watching this show, and she decided that she would see how good she could be at this. So she went over and she picked up that lemon that he'd squeezed all the juice out of, apparently, and she clamped her two little bony, frail hands around it, and she gave it a good squeeze. And out came at least a tablespoon of lemon juice. And the strong man said, "Now, how did you do that?" She said, "Oh, that was easy. Lots of practice." He said, "Really?" She says, "Yep." She said, "I've been a treasurer of my church for about 40 years. We are going to talk about partnering today. How many of you, and I actually found this to be true of myself as I prepared for this last of the 4 in a 4-week series on Prosperity Plus. How many of you see God as a consultant? You know, God's a good consultant. You call him in when you need him, and you send him down the road when you're done, right? I'll get back to you later on that when we make promises. And I realized in the course of this study that using God as a consultant, which I have worked as in many different ways in my life, that I'm not getting the full amount of God. When I start seeing God as a partner, when I start seeing God as someone that I can partner with and be with me in lockstep, I recognize that there's a lot more to God than I had given credit. I expect good and I experience it. Affirm it with me. I expect good and I experience it. And I would like to click. There we go. Just as a quick little recap of these weeks that we've been talking about Prosperity Plus, and as I shared with you in the first week, I wasn't sure what the plus meant. Getting closer all the time. God does not provide lack, is what we talked about in the first week. Abundance begins in consciousness. Affluence means in the flow. Prosperity means moving forward, hopefully. Are we ready? Are we ready for that kind of abundance in our life? The second week, we talked about what do you value? And that really came out of the fact that I was evacuated from my home for a week because of the museum fire. And as I walked around my home and I put the things in my hand that I owned, it came to me this, that when we know what we value, we create more of it by holding that value in our consciousness. That prosperity is a way of living and thinking, not just money or things, as Eric Butterworth tells us in his book, Spiritual Economics. Poverty is a way of living and thinking and not just a lack of money or things. Interesting, the slight difference there. And God is not an ATM, darn it. God provides the ideas that are behind and under the things that lead us to an abundant and full and prosperous life. Click. Thank you. Week 3, we talked about abundance being the law, and I shared with you my new experience with the law of gravity, as last week, a week ago, Saturday, I took a little leap off of a 6-foot ladder right here in this room and landed on this nice soft floor. And all I got out of it was a bruised elbow, thank you, God. But what I learned was, and what we learned as we walked through these prosperity lessons, is prosperity is just like the law of gravity. It's all around us. It's the law that we be abundant. It's the law that we are prosperous. It's the law. And the universe doesn't have an opinion about what that looks like. It's the law that you are abundant, that you are prosperous. Abundance is an inexhaustible source. Inexhaustible. For somebody who has as much energy as I have, I love that word, inexhaustible. It's an inexhaustible source, ever available. And we expect good and we experience it. Affirm that with me. We expect good and we experience it. So this week, partnership and prosperity, the power to partner. So I put some bullet points up here and let's see if I hit any of them in the talk. God is not a consultant, God is a partner, a spiritual partner on this journey that we call life. Partnership is required to amplify the good that is already present in the abundant flow. Partnership is required. We're going to come back to that. Are we cultivating a support system in our lives and in our ministry that moves us to an expression of our divinity, of our abundance, our power within, and our power together? Let's take a look. So if we can click back to just either a dark screen or else, that way we won't be trying to read all the things I just said, and then somebody might actually want to check them off and see if I did mention them in the talk. How many people here see themselves as having a connection with God? And it doesn't have to be a 5G. It can just be a connection with God, right? Is God a consultant in your life or is God a partner? As we talked about, partnership is required to amplify the good. To amplify the good that is already in the abundant flow. So the definition of a partner is this. Partner is someone who adds value beyond the exact words of the contract. And we're all in contracts here. We made a lot of contracts. We came to this little planet, we made all kinds of contracts. I have a contract with you, Deb. I have a contract that I'll be your minister and you'll be my congregant. That's one contract. How are we doing so far? All right. So a partner is somebody that goes beyond the terms of a contract because they aren't just a member. They're not just committed. They're in it. They mean to be a part of it and to work collaboratively with the people and the teachings and the things all around them. So, is your partnership with God and with yourself and your spiritual community the greatest expression of who you are? And you don't have to answer that out loud. But it's a nice thought that my partnership with everyone that I have a partnership with, and my partnership with God is the greatest expression of who I am, of who I'm called to be. I've had some partnerships in my life that weren't the greatest expression of who I was. I don't think I have very many of those left. What I can tell you is it robs me of the joy of what a true partner can be in life, in business, in ministry, in the world. When I am not aligned and allowing myself to be the greatest expression that I am called into, I have robbed myself and the people around me. Partnership is critical in our spiritual life. Partnership is critical in everything we go to accomplish, even if it's a solo deal. If you're the only one in the room, you're partnering with your own consciousness. You're partnering with your own strength. You're partnering with all that you are called to be in that moment and to be present to that partnership. Gives us the opportunity to utilize it, to lift ourselves to a greater expression. And that's true across the board. It will make us, it will amplify us into knowing the abundant flow that is already here, like we talked about in week 1 and 2 and 3. Because the abundant flow, just like gravity, is all around you. in a spiritual community and in our families, we have a choice to move from just being a part of or a member to being a partner with. And how do you do that? Oh, there's 20,000 different ways you can do that. And when you look up partnering, it all pops up as business. Isn't that interesting? It wants to tell you how to run your business. You know, Byron Katie says this, there's 3 kinds of business in the world. There's your business, there's my business, and there's God's business. And what I say is, if you're in anybody else's business but your own, you're in the wrong business. And in this business of partnering, it's not about walking away from your responsibility. It's not about stepping aside and letting somebody else's light shine because you're afraid whatever will happen if you let yours shine. It's collaborating, it's partnering, it's working together, and this is true in our lives. I love being connected. I have no problem with connecting with people. I know that might be a surprise. But connecting with them is different than partnering with them. I love being a member of this community. I love serving this community. And I get paid to do it. And I would do it anyway. I have served communities like this and others because it feeds my soul. But that service and that membership is not the same as partnering. Now I'm a partner with Unity of Flagstaff. I'm a partner with you as the congregation. Where are you at in that formula in relationship to your home, in relationship to your life, in relationship to your relationships, in relationship to this community? What's your stand on that? Who are you in this? And who are you being called to be? This partnering thing is pretty cool. The characteristics of partnership, when we talk about business, are so easily translated across into our spiritual teachings. Existence of an agreement, that's just consciousness, folks. Are you aware that the universe is ever conspiring to bring you to your greatest and your highest? Are you aware of that? That is knowing the existence of an agreement. As soon as you are willing to say, I think something great is happening within me, you connect to that greater greatness. You are acknowledging that you have an agreement with the universe about that. And Eric Butterworth tells us in his book, Spiritual Economics, I love this line, you are never further than one idea from all the wealth in the universe. You are never further than one idea from all the wealth in the universe. Now that is knowing that there is an existing agreement that you are ever moving to your greatest expression. I think Eric's got it going on. All right, see if I can flip these pages. Look at me, I am now a left-handed person. Prosperity is all around us, and this is the agreement that we have entered into. Charles Fillmore, in his book Prosperity, reminds us that Jesus, the teacher that we acknowledge as a teacher, as a perfect example of how we can in fact have a closer and more connected relationship with Spirit, was very big on making big demands. And he got them. Have you ever made a really big demand in your life and it happened? Have you? Anybody? Am I the only one that's ever happened to? Okay, so when that happens, are you shocked? Woo! Look at that, what just happened. Or can we in fact become so spiritually mature that we're no longer surprised, but that we say, but of course God would show up like that in my life. Now we're partnering. Now we're not just in awe, which is a great place to be, helps us stay in gratitude, but that we're not surprised that God is that great of an expression in our life. My grandma used to say, don't pray and leave your umbrella at home. if we're asking and we're praying and we're aligning and we're putting ourselves out there and saying, Spirit, I am here and I am willing to be the greatest expression, don't be surprised when it shows up and you get the opportunity. Because God as you, as an expression of you, is amazing. Wouldn't it be fun to no longer be surprised? When we really truly saw abundance and prosperity as law and not just an idea or a checkbook? Knowing and acknowledging what business you are in is also required for us to understand and to connect with. So what business are we in here? I used to say this all the time when I worked in larger ministries. You know, these happy people leave here on Sunday and they don't leave with a goodie bag. They just don't. They come in, they listen to a minister, they get this beautiful music, but they don't leave with a goodie bag. Everything is intrinsic here. Know the business that we're in here when we're talking about our spiritual journey and our spiritual lives. When we start to partner with God, what happens is that we know what business we're in. We always know the next right step. Now, I don't always listen. Does anybody ever tell their GPS that it doesn't know where it's going? I'll put the address in, it'll tell me exactly where to go, and then I don't listen because I have a better idea. I have that practice with God. Does anybody else here do that? Yeah. So once you remember and know the business you're in, you can partner with God and you can start to move the same direction. It gets so much easier. You know, I have a habit in my life of pushing rope uphill, and pushing rope uphill will get you nowhere. When I step back and allow the flow of things to happen and I partner with God in this and I acknowledge the business I'm in, and that is to be the greatest expression that I've invited into, it just really gets easy. And I'm telling you, time expands. Have you ever had that experience? When you are in the right place and you're doing exactly what you're called to do in a moment, how time expands, this is how you know you're in the right business. And in partnering, what we also know is that we share the profits and we share the losses. When we partner, we don't just say, that's a bummer that those people's house had to be evacuated, or it's smoke-filled, or it burned to the ground, or it flooded. What we do is we get up and we say to God, all right, what do you got for me? And we listen and we move forward and we make a difference in the world. And you know, there's a lot of talk right now about thoughts and prayers. And I got a little resentful about that conversation because I believe in holding thoughts and sending prayers for people. So I think it's getting a bad rap right now. However, I also understand that when I am a partner in my next greatest expression with God, when I am a partner in creating my own abundance and prosperity, that I get up and I move around and I do something. Divinely guided and listening, I will do the next right thing. That's partnering. That's putting it in action. That's more than just making a motion out of it. And thoughts and prayers are action when they are clearly guided and intended through Spirit, through us. Partnership is required to amplify the good that's already present in the abundant flow. I am aligned with my partnership with God. Say this with me. I am aligned with my partnership with God. I know that I have an agreement with God to be the greatest expression, just like this ministry made an agreement to be the greatest expression that it's called into in this community and in the world. I have an agreement to be my greatest expression. Affirm that with me. I have an agreement to be my greatest expression. I had a tough week because I had one wing. And there were moments I felt like my partner had let me down. God, my partner, had let me down. Come on, God.
Down off the
He did let me down off the top of a 6-foot ladder, right on my elbow. Yeah. And I felt a little isolated. I felt a lot of frustration because I'm a doer and a mover, and I like to pick things up and I like to put them where they belong. And I like things the way I like things. I'm easy to get along with as long as I get my way. And God and I had to have a real serious conversation about this partnership. I said, really? You're having me talk about partnership, and yet I feel abandoned. And it's just a bruised elbow. This is not anything serious. You have serious things, I am sure, in your life, but there are moments that that partnership does not feel real. Anybody? Ever? I'm inviting you into this. When it doesn't feel real, remember your agreement. When it doesn't feel real, remember the universe is ever conspiring to move us to our highest and our best. And when we partner with God, we amplify the already existing abundant flow. It is my joy to be with you. And I love being in partnership. Namaste. So we have a special music thing happening. What do you think of this music lately, yeah? Yeah. Violets. And today we are being blessed by Matt with one of his original songs. And I've been asking for months for him to do this, and I don't know what the magic words were, but Wiley managed to get him up here to do this song, and we are blessed. So thank you. Watch out for that.
Every now and then this world can swallow you alive, break you down a little at a time. Together we can make it right, follow our hearts deep into the night, maybe help someone else along the way. And we light this world from the inside out, leave the fear and darkness behind. 'Cause it's just a subtle glow that grows one soul at a time. For keep the faith, we'll light this world from the inside out. We have felt the chill of an air wind blowing in. The puppet master spins his empty lies. And if we were merely sheep, we would be theirs to keep. But hand in hand, we will make a stand. We light this world from the inside out, leave the fear and darkness behind. It's just a subtle glow that grows one soul at a time. For keep the faith, we'll light this world from the inside out. If we keep the faith, we'll light this world from the inside out. Book by its cover, the gender of your lover, the color of our skin is not a sin. So put the hate away, we don't need it here today. 'Cause we can't go through all of this again. We'll light this world from the inside out. Leave the fear and darkness behind. Leave it all behind. It's just a sign of blow that grows one soul at a time. To keep the faith, we'll light this world from the inside out. And we'll light this world from the inside out. Leave the fear and darkness behind. It's just a subtle blow that grows one soul at a time. To keep the faith, we'll light this world from the inside out. If we keep the faith, we'll light this world from the inside out.